This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital.
Welcome to How to Money with Kole and Cole.
I'm Kole.
And I'm Cole.
We coach people every day on their money and how to plan for the future.
As financial advisors, we're here to have an honest conversation and educate you on investing, retirement, and everything in between. And we'll throw in some sports talk along the way.
Our mission and goal of this podcast is to improve your money journey and help you create the financial life you deserve.
So let's talk money.
And sports.
Welcome back to How to Money with Kole and Cole. I am Bailey Ashbrook, and I am joined by the Kole and Cole. Welcome.
What's up?
What's going on?
A little tired. I need a cup of coffee. A little late night. You guys know me. I have a strict bedtime, but we had an event last night, so I'm a little tired.
Yeah, money and margaritas last night. We had a good time. We had a good crowd, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a blast. Great. Thanks for Sean for coming to speak to our group. And margaritas were good. The food was amazing out there.
Oh my gosh. Salsa, guac.
Yeah.
Dream come true. Queso.
I love Mexican food. I can't.
Cinco de
can't get
Mayo
enough
play.
of it.
You
Yeah.
know?
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, yeah.
that's right.
That is right.
Yeah, my wife's going to lunch at a Mexican restaurant.
Is she?
We'll see how that
Classic.
ends up.
Yeah.
We had fun. So we had an event last night for our clients and non-clients. It was just talking about investing in today, perspective, volatility, and emotions. And we'll go into that because that's what we're going to talk about today. But we opened it up and we fed everyone. It was a good time. Had some prizes. And we had trivia. And one of the trivia questions, let's see if Caleb can get it. How many pounds of guacamole is eaten on Cinco de Mayo in America?
No, it's avocado.
Avocado.
Yeah, how many pounds?
Well, yeah,
like in
I'm
pounds?
just assuming
yeah.
they're making guac.
Avocado on Cinco de Mayo
Yeah.
in America.
Yeah, how many pounds?
Oh, gosh.
This is crazy.
11 million.
81 million.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
Kind of good guess, though, I feel like.
Yeah,
That's a good
you
guess.
did a
Sounds
lot
like
better than I did.
Yeah, that's a
It's like
logical guess.
80,000.
Yeah.
I knew it would be way up there, but that's crazy.
Like
No.
the question, it was like 800,000, like 1 billion or 81 million was. We did a trivia, and that was the three on there. So
That's crazy.
So if you're local, we love doing events because it's just good education, it's good time, it's good networking, getting to know us. So
Yeah, and congrats to our trivia winner, Chelsea Hetherington,
Yeah.
who won the trivia contest and got the Stanley Cup that we gave away. That was
hot. Stanley
Yeah.
Cups are hot right now.
And we gave 5 of those away last night and gave some other prizes, ice cream scoops, Dairy gift cards, and a couple other things. But we had a good time. Thank you, like Cole said, to Sean Gillen from Bright House for helping us out.
Yeah, it was awesome. So what's going on in sports, guys? It's kind of quiet, but here's the thing. Cole and Cole played golf against each other this week, and they didn't know I was going to bring this out.
gosh.
How'd it go? Cole's smiling, one looked away.
I'm 0 for. You know, I lost this go around. The game's not on par right now. So
It was really windy. We played on Tuesday, which was like 50-mile-an-hour winds. It was really windy. And I actually
fun,
shot better on Tuesday than I did on Wednesday.
So did I. I did
There
too.
was no wind.
yeah, I did too.
Yeah. But I won by a couple shots. Cole
Sorry?
struggled on the second to last hole. He had a chipping expedite or whatever you call it. It was he chipped the ball through.
So we'll have the running total keep going here.
I know.
For our listeners that don't care about Cole and I's golf competition.
So it's
but-
1-0
It's just more
right
I
now?
like to
Yeah.
keep everyone in check who's winning because you
Yeah.
got to have a winner.
Yep.
So we'll keep track, but it's 1-0 Cole P to start out.
Cole P is up. So Caleb, your Panthers selected Bryce Young number 1 overall, and you're kind of excited.
I'm excited, yes. I think it will work short term because he is very talented. I'm just concerned that it won't last that long because his body won't hold up because he is a very small quarterback.
So he might not get Lamar Jackson money with his second contract. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, probably not. But
How big is he?
5'9", which in the NFL is short.
It's shot. Yeah, that is short.
Cool thing about I know we were talking about the Lamar Jackson contract and the money thing. You know, his mom represents him, so he doesn't have an agent. So, and it's like his agent commission would have been like 17 million that he would have paid an agent, and he gave that to his mom.
Yeah, that's
For
cool.
Mom is
Cool.
balling.
Or
He was
something
getting-
like that. It was
that is
I don't
so
know. The money
cool.
the dollars might not be exactly right, but
He was getting a lot of crap for having his mom
Yeah.
be his agent, and then he ended up getting the contract he wanted.
Yep.
And he basically went out and he's like, "Yeah, so much for me needing an agent. Like,
Yep.
I win."
I thought that was
knows
pretty cool.
best.
I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. He also said that he's going to try throw for 6,000 yards this year.
Yeah, because of his new receivers. I saw that yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Aaron Rodgers officially went to the Jets. That was like rumored forever, but officially signed with the Jets.
How old is A-Rod?
Like 38.
Yeah.
When do you
Well,
Tom Brady played till he was like
that,
45.
that I'm not counting him.
Well, Aaron Rodgers has been rumoring retirement for like 4 years. So
He's about there. Like he's in that age where those guys. But he's still very talented though. So
yeah.
Yeah,
This is probably his last go around, probably 3 or 4 years, and he'll be done. So
it's on the Brett Favre, train where he's just kind of.
Yeah, and then he'll go do a bunch of media after and be a part of everything and still make.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on the NBA. Anything exciting, Mr. NBA?
No.
we're down to 8 teams.
LeBron and Curry are playing each other right now. Other than that, nothing matters.
So that is an exciting series. My 9-year-old son is wants to watch a game, but they're West Coast games, so they start at 9 o'clock at night. But there's one that starts at 7, I think, tomorrow night, and so we're gonna sit down and watch it.
Last night's game started at 8, so that was nice because it was over.
Right. Well, he goes to bed at 8:30. So
okay, that doesn't
and
work.
we were at our event, so I didn't try to do that one. But
I go to bed at 8:30.
Other than that, it's pretty dead in the sports world. So
my Cubs are struggling, guys. They've lost 5 out of 6. They got swept by the Marlins. They've lost 6 out of 7.
Baseball season's so long.
I know. They're still 15 and 16. I would say they were kind of right where I thought they would be. They were overachieving earlier this year.
How many games do baseball teams play in a year?
162.
Yeah, you're fresh.
Yeah.
There's a lot. It's a lot.
A lot of time left.
That's daunting.
It's all right.
Start that
We're doing
season.
this. We're recording today on a Friday because he's going to go watch his Cubs play on Tuesday.
Yep.
So,
Tuesday.
Go Cubs, go.
Yep.
all right, really quick before we go into the actual topic of the day, I just wanted to say thank you all to all the people who've been listening because our listens have been going way up the last few episodes, so we really appreciate that. Make sure that if you're not already following or subscribe to whatever platform you're listening on, make sure you hit the follow button, subscribe, whatever it might be. Send it to a friend who you might think would enjoy it. Also, leave a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever platform you listen on. It really helps us get the word out, continue to grow, and we just really appreciate it. So keep it up.
Yeah, we'll get discovered that way.
We'll take all the kind words.
Yeah,
The algorithm, it's a crazy thing.
All right, let's get rolling.
So today we're going to kind of recap our event last night. We had a great event. It was talking about volatility and market, keeping their perspective, sticking to your plan. And as we know, there's a lot of emotions in investing. There's a lot of emotions, especially in today's world. And we're talking about how everything's at a tip of our fingers today. News travels fast. And we're kind of going to recap the event and go over all that.
Yeah, so it's different today than it was 20 or 30 years ago. You don't wait for the paper to get your news anymore. It's at the palm of your hand, literally. And so Sean talked a lot about, when you see these headlines, Dow tumbles on fears of recession.
Market in turmoil.
Market in turmoil. Take it into perspective and actually look at what's going on. Because he said he showed a couple headlines and then he actually showed the return that day. And it was Dow tumbles on rate fears was one of them. And it was down 0.7%.
Well, yeah, because he was talking about how his dad used to be in this business, right? The business, he was a financial advisor. And then he said he never checked the news because he was at work every day talking. He was engaged. He knew what was going on. And then he would start reading the paper when he retired and he would see all these news and he would start to panic like, oh, I just retired. Oh, I just turned over my clients. And it's crazy how headlines really do grab people.
Right. And his whole thing was okay, well, yeah, the market is volatile. I mean, it is going to go up and down. It's very, prevalent that it's going to do that. And I think you've got a stat on how often the market goes down during a year, and we'll go through that. But it's all about sticking to your plan. You can always reassess your risk, but don't do it out of fear or emotion. Do it out of this is our plan, is to go from moderate to moderate conservative at age 70 or whatever age it is, and stick to your plan. And that's part of the reason you have a financial advisor, obviously.
Yeah, I think most people need to know, or some people do things on their own, but a lot of people do work with an advisor, and it's important to ask, communicate that you're uncomfortable, or maybe you're feeling emotional, or you're uncertain, and that's the first step of hey, maybe just say, hey, I don't like this, and then you can maybe understand better. Or if you do need to reassess your plan or your risk or what portfolio objective you might have, that's the time you need to start having those conversations. The people that just kind of keep it to themselves and work themselves up, read the news lines, get on Twitter, those are the things. And I always try to say, don't even look at the news, keep the stock channel off, because fear sells. I mean, that's why, Fox News, CNN, all these, they want the negative headlines because that's what drives viewership to them. And that's what, causes, our lives to be a little crazy at times, and we're always trying to coach people to take some of the emotion out of it. And that's easier said than done, but having a plan and communicating, can really help soften that.
Well, and then we hear this a lot. There's a herd mentality. So when you hear one person say, oh, I got out, the market's going bad, it's never going to go up, the world's crap. You know what I mean? People hear that and like, oh, my neighbor got out, I got to get out. And we talk about this a lot too. is everyone's plan's different. Like, do not, if Cole P was like, oh, Bailey, I did XYZ, that doesn't mean I should change my plan because they don't look the same. We have different incomes, goals, priorities. And I feel like that's very common in today's world is to, one, hear the news and then hear what other people do. And that's another important part of walking along an advisor.
Yeah, don't compare your plan with your friends, because your strategy and your retirement and everything that you want to do with the money that you've saved up is virtually never the same as the other person. So it's not something where we can do this. We don't do the same thing for every person at all, not even close. And it's definitely customized to your situation, your plan, your fears in retirement, or your concerns, I guess is probably a better word. So it's not something that we're going to do the same thing for every person. We might do something similar or something like that, but just because one person has this plan doesn't mean the next one is going to.
And Cole, you have some really good statistics, and it also age-based. It's very important. Obviously, and Sean talked about this, the 3 years before retirement, after. Obviously, there's strategies and protections you can do during turbulent markets. But overall, why don't you give some statistics for people?
Yeah, this is, there's a chart Sean put up, a visual, and it, puts it in context of all the volatility. And it's really what it is. It was the S&P 500 on a bar chart or a dot chart from 1980 to 2023, showing, a 40-plus year returns. And what was fascinating about it, it was the average down point at over that 43-year period was 14.3%.
And didn't you say every year we had at some point we were down, the market was down?
There might be one in there somewhere, but it looked like almost, I would say 95% that you can see on the chart, because they do kind of lump some of the years together, but was down at some point in any given year. But on average, you were down 14.3%, which is, that's a pretty significant pullback. And think about that. So, but on the other side of the fence is your average rate of return over that whole time period, that 43 years, if you just rode the market up and down, all those waves, was 8.7% annually. And 74% of the time of those years, or almost 3/4 of the time, you were positive return over that whole period. So put in context of, like, at any point you're down 14%. And if you're always selling when down, most of the time you're losing. 3/4 of the time, that was the wrong decision. And yeah, we're not always, that's what, everyone always uses a crystal ball analogy, right? If I had my crystal ball, but that's the thing is, like, what those numbers tell you is it's more important to be in the market than to try to time the market and have a plan, right? And it's being in the market with a plan.
Because we hear that a lot. Well, I'll get back in when the market's good, or I need to get out.
When do you get back in?
At the low, and people forget that's the worst time to get out, and that's the worst time to get back in. So emotions behind it. And you guys have a lot of conversations, and you had a cool story at Principal, a guy called when a guy was and it's an emotional based decision, and to sit with someone and talk to someone and keep stressing that importance. But tell the story of Principal.
Yeah. So I was at Principal in the 401k department during the 2008 crash, and it was, many things were going on at the time, but it was a very, very fearful time. And I remember a gentleman that was a business owner, and he was, I believe he was like 73 years old. He called me, and his portfolio had gone from over $5 million in his 401k, and he was still working. He was still owning the business and still working, still putting money in. But he had over $5 million at the start of 2008. And when he called me, I believe it was like February or March of 2009, his portfolio was below $3 million. So he had went from over $5 million to below $3 million, and he was like, "What should I do?" and at that point, I was in a position at Principal where I wasn't able to solicit advice to people, so I couldn't say you should sell or you should buy or anything like that. We were just there. Our whole thing was we can't give investment recommendations, but at the same time, when you sell at the bottom of the market, we might be hitting a bottom, we don't know. And the whole thing with him was, do you need this money? And of course he was like, no, not really. I'm still working. And
by need, like, you mean like income, right?
Yeah.
Like are you going to generate an income, or is this going to help you survive? Yeah, it's just
right.
So for the viewers,
so few details that most people probably won't care about, but he was an owner, so he had to take a required minimum distribution because he was over 70 and a half at the time. That was the age. So he was like, no, I'm only taking my required minimum distributions out, which were high because he had over $5 million. So I was like, well, do you, I mean, if I personally, I would probably wait it out, but it's your account. I can't give you recommendations, but, he was all in stocks, which he had done really well over the year. You got to look back also, like how much have I made on this account too? And that's what everyone forgets when the market starts going down is, oh, I'm still up overall. And so after we got, done talking, he left his account alone, and I'm assuming we weren't able to go back and look, but I'm assuming obviously the market came back in 2009 and he probably made back most of what was down. And it was just you see those numbers, you see 5 million, you go to 3 million, you're like, holy cow.
And think about this too. And when I hear that story, the fact that he wasn't working with side by side with someone and didn't have plans and places and strategies, so he didn't have to have that panic and calling principle and having an advisor to walk you through that. And I think that's what you guys do a really good job at.
Yeah. So I offered one of our advisors that principal at that time to give him a call, and I'm pretty sure they did. And I don't know what ever happened with that, but at the same time, that is right. Like he didn't have anybody but to call the 401k customer service, which I was
with that amount of money.
With that amount of money, which is kind of I'm 30 years old at that time. I only had 3 years in the industry, and he's talking to me about $5 million. It's like. You kind of want someone that has experience and had been through the situation and knows how to handle it. I was kind of trying to do my best at that time because I didn't probably have the experience to be talking to him. But at the same time, he needed someone to be a sounding board, and I was the person for him to call.
Hey there, listeners. This episode of How to Money with Kole and Cole is sponsored by BetterHelp. I don't know about you, but for me, finding the work-life balance of being a husband and father and working a job has been so rewarding. But it also can be so exhausting. And that's why it's important for me to take care of my health. And not just my physical health, but my mental health. And that's where therapy comes in.
BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service. And you know what's great about it? It's 100% online.
With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of challenges. To get started, you just have to answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call.
You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge.
With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you with more scheduling flexibility at a more affordable price.
Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/CFG to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/CFG.
All right, let's do a little dollars and cents, guys.
Dollar bills, y'all.
All right, Feds raised the rates again.
Yes, they went up 0.25% yesterday. Shocked the stock market again. Went down, but it's right back up today. But so the Fed raised 0.25%, which I don't even know how many raises they've done.
A bunch.
A bunch.
They've raised the rates a lot, but it has average. So the average fixed rate, 30-year fixed rate on housing mortgage right now is 7.07%, according to the website that we looked at this morning. So we were just talking about that and like, okay, well, what's the lowest ever? December of 2020 when
Crazy.
It was crazy time.
Two people in this room bought houses.
Refinance. Well, I refinanced.
Yeah.
In September, I think, of 2020.
You guys are such good market timers.
Right. December of 2020, 2.68 was the average.
That's so crazy.
That's
so
crazy.
less than 3 years ago, we've almost swung 5% as far as 30-year mortgages. And that's the average. So some people get higher, some people get lower, obviously. But it's not the highest ever, of course.
Not even close.
Not even close. The highest ever, October of 1981. Farming crisis, interest rates going crazy. The average 30-year mortgage that was taken out was 18.45%, according to Freddie Mac. 18.45%. So if you think we had our lowest ever in just 2020, highest ever 1981, what's the average? Probably right where we're at. I mean, 7.07 is probably not.
We're pretty normal.
We were just spoiled for so long.
We were spoiled for so long. They're trying to make, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make money more expensive to borrow. And that's going to slow down inflation, slow people building houses, buying houses, everything like that. They're just trying to slow it down a little bit, and I think they're going to accomplish what they want. Do I agree with everything they've done? Of course not. I think they raised them way too quickly and too frequently, but at the same time, they are accomplishing what they went out for.
Just causing a lot of, when people, what's your thoughts on the market and things, right? The market likes a little more predictability, and we're in a very unpredictable environment. Like, we don't really know where rates are going. We assume the Fed's you listen to any economist, professional, the Fed's probably very close to being done. They might go one more time, but it sounds like we're right on the edge, just depending on some of the numbers, how they come out with. But that's probably until we get a little more clarity on where inflation, interest rates are, we're probably going to be in this choppy period. Some days are good, some days are bad. We've kind of had a down week, but we're ending the week, or today's, as we're doing this podcast, up pretty drastically. But yeah, it's definitely creating a lot of fun conversations for all of us.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. So we've talked a lot about emotions. That's another emotional thing. Fed's bringing rates up and all that stuff. So we have some strategies for these times and volatility that we were talking about prior. Cole, Jay, give me some good strategies when I'm emotional. There's volatility. What would you suggest?
Yeah, some things, we're constantly talking about with clients, right? We're having the conversations, obviously your normal conversations of goals, objectives, your risk level, how much money you want to spend. But there's really three that I kind of thought of when I was like, okay, what if I was just talking to anyone, they're asking three things I can do in a volatile, or emotional period is one, rebalance. Make sure you're rebalancing your portfolio on an annual basis at minimum. And what that means for our listeners is, sometimes you have stocks and bonds, or, an allocation of 50% stocks, 50% bonds, for example. Sometimes the stocks do a lot better. So all of a sudden now you're 70-30 because your bond values maybe just maintained, but your stocks went up. By default, you're a lot more aggressive. So, and what rebalancing would mean is, hey, we're getting that 70-30 back to our original 50-50. And that keeps us in line with our portfolio objectives and our risk levels. And that's important to make sure, one, you define what that is. Because my allocation might be 90-10, or Cole's might be 70-30. We all have different.
Is it because he's older?
Yeah, that was a little dart. That was a little dart to him.
And some of that we do automatically for our clients.
Yes.
We set up the rebalancing, so you don't necessarily have to do that yourself. But it's something that I think people don't look at in their 401ks for sure. And typically, if you look at your 401k, there's an auto rebalance option.
Yep.
But if you don't have that on and you leave it for 20 years, you're most likely going to have a lot more stocks than when you started with, because those stocks are going to increase more than the bonds, just if history proves right. So.
No, that's a great point. I don't think a lot of people know that, the rebalancing. All right, so we got rebalancing, and then
dollar cost averaging, right? And this is, I know most people are familiar with dollar cost averaging, and that means on both ways, dollar cost averaging in, and then, or if you're on the distribution phase, can be dollar cost averaging out. And that's, setting up, whether it's setting up a weekly buy or a weekly sell, depending on where you're at and what stage. When you're in volatile markets, it's a very great way to invest. We're not trying to time. We're just picking a date and saying, boom, here's what we're doing. Because
every 15th, I put X amount of money in my account.
Because some days it's going to look like a great buy. Some days it's going to look poor. But the most important thing is the consistency of doing it. And you're committed, to the strategy.
Okay, explain that on the way out now then.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. So say you're taking $1,000 a month, and this is where the distribution strategy maybe can be a little more complex, because we might raise more cash ahead of time if the market's been good. So we might say, hey, let's take 12 months of income out of the market or out of your portfolio, park it aside, and right now it's a great time because your cash is getting pretty high interest. So it's not a bad time to do that if someone is taking income. But we do also have people that we just do periodic sells. Every month, so we're not taking a lump sum. We're not trying to time. We're just saying, hey, we're going to raise $1,000. Sometimes it's going to look great. Sometimes it's going to look average. Sometimes it's going to look poor. But we're doing it consistently. Now we got to make sure it is very important to understand that, you have the funds to be able to do that, on an ongoing basis. Because if you run the math, and that's where we'll do and say, hey, okay, yep, we can get that to $500 and still feel like you're going to, make it to 90, 95, whatever it might be. But it is very important. I both are very important, but the distribution strategy, especially in volatile markets, is especially
in that retirement time.
Very, very important
You're
to have.
taking income.
Yep.
Yeah, I've had some clients that are like, well, I'll just take the money when I need it. And I was like, well, that's not always the best strategy, because it's better to take it out, on a monthly basis, maybe put it into your savings account, pay taxes on it. And you're spreading out your taxable gain too. Because if you wait 3 years and take out $50,000, we don't know if that's a good time in the
We
market.
don't know if it's gonna be the low or the high. Again, it's
and
the timing.
It's nice to have the ability, like in that example, right? If someone, maybe they don't need the money, but they know it's coming, spending's coming, is like, okay, let's start stockpiling. And then if the market's a little worse on us, we don't need to take any out yet. You've got a stockpile there that we've sent you, and maybe we use that. Now, if the market is good, great. We'll just continue to kind of add to that stockpile.
Yeah, I had a client just last night tell me that, like, yeah, we've been doing those distributions, and now I'm putting a new floor in, now I'm putting in a deck, and I have the cash. I mean, so he has the cash ready to go because we've been doing those periodic distributions out of his investments, and he's retired, and that's what we set up. So it's a good strategy there. So you got one more for us, Cole?
Yeah, I do. And the last one, this is more maybe on the spending out or wind down phase or distribution phase, is you're reassessing your budget, right? Making sure, especially if things are a little volatile, you feel like your account values are suppressed a little bit, and say, hey, is it necessary for that $1,000 a month? Maybe I can do $800, maybe I can do $700. Because I do feel like, for example, if we're sending you $1,000 and you're like, well, I'm only spending $400 and $600 is going into savings. Maybe we reduce that selling strategy right now, just so we're putting less pressure on your overall portfolio. So I do think that's, Bailey, I know you're a huge advocate for the budget and the spending budget of reassessing that, especially when there is volatility. I mean, at all times you should do that, but volatility, because if there's unneeded selling going on, and we can hold off on that, it's very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like sometimes when we ask people for budgets, there's like reluctancy because they don't feel like we trust them with their money, but it's not that. It's like, we want to see, okay, are we sending too much to you, or are we not sending you enough? We want to see what your budget is and what is necessities and what is something that maybe we can do something different. So, if a financial advisor asks you for your budget, it's not necessarily that they don't trust you.
We're not slapping your hand. It's
Right.
like a powerful tool. Like, I think a lot of people see a budget and like, oh, this is so restrictive.
Spending's the number one indicator of how much you need to save.
Yeah.
So like,
where it's going. Exactly. All you're doing is taking your money and assigning where it's going. It's like you're in charge of your money. It's really freeing. Just say, this is exactly what I need. This is what I get. This is where it goes. Otherwise, that's when it kind of just gets out of control. And you hear people like, I don't even know what I'm spending, or I don't even know what I got. So
yeah, and again, not everyone's situation is the same. I know we say that a lot, so it's different for everybody. We can't run a budget for this. Bailey's budget's not the same as mine.
100%, it's not. I don't go to the Cubs.
I have 4 kids. You have 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I only have 2.
Yeah,
so far.
So yours is half mine, right?
I only have 1.
Oh, we got all the 4, 3, 2, 1 in the room.
No, it's just a powerful tool, and I think it's a great thing to look at. So those are great strategies. So a lot of emotions, a lot of strategies. Give your number one tip when someone is very emotional. Like, okay, I got $2 million in my 401k, whatever it may be, whatever account. I'm really emotional. My neighbors are selling. I don't know what to do. The news keeps telling me, are you sure? I mean, this president, I'm just not sure where it's going. You hear the conversations. Like, I just don't want to lose. I'll get back in when it's good. What would you tell me?
I would say let's sit down and talk about what your goals are with this money. Let's see what it is. Reassess. Because maybe it is a time to get some out of the market. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's time to put more in. It's we need to reassess what your goals are with it. Because if it's changed, maybe it's changed in your mind as a client that I didn't know about, because sometimes that does happen where we don't talk to our clients every day.
Yep.
So sometimes things change. They may be thinking about buying a house or a vacation home or anything like that. We need to know about that. So let's sit down, reassess your goals with the money that you have saved up, and maybe we do change, but maybe we don't.
And Sean told this story last night. So Sean's a wholesaler at a company, so it's a product we use. And he has a mother-in-law. And the story was basically like he never wanted to overstep with his mother-in-law. Like, obviously, he could have easily advised her, guided her, helped her with her. It was during her retirement period. And he thought she was working with an advisor. And so she was having all these emotions when the market was at the low. And he thought she was working. She sold at the worst time. They never talked about it. He was like, okay, he didn't know. And then, I think he said like a few years later, she got back in and bought at the high, and how much it took her account down. And I just think, oh gosh, someone is right in your front door, could help you. And people just get nervous, I think, to talk to someone and just like guide them through it. And it is such an emotional thing. And it's something I would not recommend doing alone.
Well, yeah, we don't talk, we don't do this podcast to try to, generate business, but we want to educate people, right? That's really what we're here about. But emotional times, it does lead to, we want to have those conversations. So if you're not working with a financial advisor, we'd love to talk to you. Whether you can become a client or not. I think it's always just having that conversation. So We talk all the time or reach out on how to find us. I know I don't have all the stuff off the top of my head, so I'll let Bailey tell us how to find us.
You can call the office. You can reach and ask for Bailey. I'm usually the one that schedules the appointments, or hit up my email. We'll put them in the show notes. And we also been thinking about this. Like, we want to hear from you guys. Like, what do you want to hear on the podcast? Do you want to hear more about the guys' life and their golf?
Oh gosh,
Well,
I'm kidding.
I can guarantee that's not
Dead
coming
serious though, like topics, Social Security, Medicare, investing, whatever it may be. We would love to hear from you. We also host events, and we would love ideas for those. What events have we had so far?
So we've had Social Security, we've had Medicare, we've had taxes, when we plan to do taxes, Social Security, Medicare, those topics again. But if there's anything else that we're missing that you think would be a great topic, we would love to hear from you.
If you have a local entrepreneur that you'd like to be interviewed by the guys, then send us that name. Send us a name, because we're always looking for people who'd be interested in coming on the podcast,
sharing their stories. We love sharing stories.
Yes. Really, the goal of this podcast is to educate and help you so you can live a good, financial journey. And if sometimes entrepreneurs are just great examples of on how to do that. So we love just picking their brains.
And they're inspiring. They get good stories. You know? Great stories.
If you want to hear a really good entrepreneur, check out our last episode where we just asked Cole Jasky a bunch of questions about his life being an entrepreneur.
Oh boy. Thanks for the plug.
Calculated risks, right? I think that's
right.
A lot of entrepreneurs talk about that. They had to take a risk at some point, but it's typically calculated.
Yep.
You know, what is my return on our investment, and we call it ROI in our industry. So what is our return on investment with a lot of things, and entrepreneurs have to think about that more than probably someone that goes and punches a clock. Not that that's a bad job again, but that's why we feature entrepreneurs, because their business is almost like investing.
Yeah.
I mean, it is an investment the entire time.
Yeah,
So
I would agree. So awesome. Check it out in the show notes. Hit us with your events. Hit us with your podcast topics. We always appreciate you guys.
Follow them on social media.
Yes.
Yep.
Hit the like button.
Also, if you are a business owner out there listening, not just a business owner, but it does tend to lend to business owners, and you want to sponsor an episode of How to Money with Kole and Cole, send us a message through the Central Financial website. So
yeah, that'd be great.
sure.
All right. Never say never, because limits, like fear, are often just illusions. The GOAT, Michael Jordan.
Boom.
Go Cubs.
You've been listening to How to Money with Kole and Cole, the podcast of the Central Financial Group, courtesy of Spin Market. To learn more, visit their website at www.centralfinancialgroup.com and follow them on all their social media platforms.
For now, I'm Cole,
And I'm Cole.
and we'll see you on the greens.
4.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associations Incorporated, member FINRA, SIPC. Royal Alliance Associations Incorporated is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associations Incorporated. Material discussed is meant for general informational purposes only, and it is not to be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Diversification does not insure against loss. Any guarantees discussed refer only to fixed insurance products and are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.